What's up guys, Nick True here, and today I'm going to share with you one specific way of thinking that is actually keeping you poor and unhappy. See, humans have all these weird inner thoughts inside our heads that can actually affect our decisions, and some of these thoughts are so widespread and so many different people have them that scientists have actually given them a name, and they're known as a cognitive bias. And there's one specific cognitive bias called the sunk cost effect or the sunk cost fallacy that will absolutely keep you poor and unhappy if you let it. So in this video, I'm going to explain exactly what it is, how it affects you, and how you can beat it. So what is it? What do I keep saying? Well, the sunk cost effect comes into play when people continue to invest more and more money or time into something just because they've already invested a certain amount of money or time into that thing. If you've ever said to yourself, I really don't want to pay for this or keep paying for this, but I've already spent so much money that I guess I might as well finish it now. Or if you've ever caught yourself saying, I really don't want to keep doing this, but I've come this far, might as well keep going. If you've ever said that, then you've been a victim of the sunk cost effect. Now, to be clear, this is not some sort of weird motivation thing where something gets really difficult to do and you just keep pressing on because you've already come this far. That's not what I'm talking about at all. I'm talking about something that you objectively either would not buy or would not spend time doing if you had the choice, but because you've already spent so much time or money on that thing, then you continue it anyways for no other reason except for that. We justify it in our minds because we don't want all that time and money to go to waste. But if you want to be wealthy and you want to be happy with your current situation, you absolutely cannot let past decisions affect your decisions going forward, even if that means taking a loss. Let's look at a couple of examples to really explain this even more. So a couple of years ago, my wife and I ended up going through a Dave Ramsey course called Financial Peace University with some members of our church. We all started talking about things that we bought in our past that we really wish we wouldn't have, or things that we own now that we wish we wouldn't have bought. And I remember so clearly this one particular couple literally had just bought a brand new Jeep, like a $30,000 or $40,000 vehicle. And they just bought it like a couple weeks before this course started, which was kind of ironic. Now they couldn't afford to pay cash for this vehicle, obviously, so they took out a pretty big car loan to get it. A couple weeks into the course, they finally started seeing the light and seeing kind of the error of their past ways and how they really needed to make some major changes if they wanted to get on a good financial path. I remember them saying that they were upset that they bought that Jeep and they wish they wouldn't have, but they already had it now and they were already making the payments on it, so might as well continue making it and just try and pay it off a little faster than they originally planned to. I wanted to pull my hair out because I immediately saw that they were stuck in the sunk cost fallacy. They'd already bought this Jeep, they'd already put down a down payment on it. There's no way they could sell it now. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense. They might as well continue on. Even though if they would have waited like 2 months, they would never have bought that Jeep in the first place. They were letting their past decisions about sinking money and time into this thing affect their future decisions going forward. What they needed to do is go ahead and sell the Jeep, even if that means taking a small loss, buying a used car that they could pay for in cash or get a really small loan for and pay off quickly, and then use the excess money to either pay down debt or invest for their future. Cars are one of the easiest things that cause people to fall into the sunk cost fallacy. Our culture tells people that you should buy a car based on whether or not you can afford the monthly payment, which leads people to buying cars that really they can't afford and are just barely able to make that payment. See, the sunk cost bias kicks in real hard and real fast with cars because people know that they immediately take a major hit on depreciation and value of that car the second they drive it off the lot. They think that they can't afford to take a loss on the car, and so there's no way they can sell it. They just may as well start finish paying for it. The problem is that in reality, you can't afford to not take the loss on the car. Let me show you with some actual numbers. So imagine you buy a $30,000 car with $3,000 down. You take a $27,000 loan at 3% over the course of the next 60 months. This means you'd make a monthly payment of $485 and you would end up paying $29,109 on the car over the course of the loan, plus the initial $3,000 that you put down. That puts the total cost to you over those 5 years at $32,000. Now let's say that after the first year, you realize that it was a really dumb decision to buy the car and you kind of regret it. But you think to yourself that you can't afford to take the loss now, so there's no way you're gonna sell it. You may as well just keep plowing forward and pay this car off. But let's see if that's really true. So after years worth of payment plus the $3,000 that you put down initially, you owe roughly $21,300 left on the car. Now typically cars lose around 20% of their value within that first year. So you can sell the car for $24,000, then you have to pay your loan off, and you're left with around $2,700 that you can pocket. Let's say that you go and get another car with a loan, but it's a much cheaper car this time. You use that money to make a down payment on an $8,000 car, leaving you with $5,300 left in payments. And because it's a much smaller loan, you can afford to take a 24-month payment at 2.8%, which leaves you a $230 a month payment for this car. This means you'll have this car paid off in 2 years as opposed to the 4 years that it was going to take you to finish paying off the new nicer car. Now, here's here's where things get interesting. Let's say that you take the excess money that you have every single month now because you're not making the big car payment and you're only making the smaller one, and you invest that money into a broadly diversified index fund like the S&P 500 that averages roughly 7% a year. This means that you're going to have $250 a month that you can invest in this new fund, plus at the end of the 2 years, when the used car gets paid off, you're going to have $485, the total amount of the original payment that you can invest into this for another 2 years. So at the end of 5 years, your money's now going to be worth $18,827. On the one hand, you sell the $30,000 stupid mistake car, you buy a used car, use the excess money to invest, and at the end of 5 years, you're left with a used car that's paid off plus $19,000 in your bank account. On the other hand, you have a paid off, pretty nice car after 5 years, no extra money in savings, and you probably don't even like that newer, nicer car all that much better than the used car you could have gotten in the first place because the newness has worn off anyways. I know that was a ton of numbers I just threw at you, but the whole point here is that yes, depreciation happens, and yes, you sometimes will take a loss, but unless you really examine the numbers, I think you'd be surprised at how many times you're still going to come out ahead if you go ahead and take the initial loss. Don't let stupid decisions in the past affect your decisions going forward, period. Now, not only does the sunk cost fallacy affect monetary investments that we actually make, it also affects investments that we make with our time. According to some research study somewhere that was performed by some smart people, over half the people in this country are unsatisfied with their job. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but I can certainly attest to the fact that I used to be very unsatisfied with my job, and I have a ton of friends that are extremely unsatisfied with theirs. But they don't do anything about it, and odds are you might be one of them. Oh sure, you complain every single day about your boss and your coworkers and the amount of hours that you have to work and the this and that and the travel and all these things, but are you actually doing anything about it? Are you making steps to change the situation that you find yourself in? One of the problems with people not being happy in their job or their career is they get stuck into a mindset that they can't change their situation because they've already spent way too much time and effort investing in that career. Making a change that is something totally different is just not worth it. It's not worth the loss. The problem with this thinking is that it robs you of being able to do something that you actually care about and something you're passionate about. You've got to realize that the effort that you put in on the front end is sunk cost. It's gone. It's gone whether or not you keep moving forward down that path or you change directions. It's already gone and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. You've already gotten the degree, you've already worked 10 years in this field, you've already spent the money on these classes or that extracurriculum thing, but that doesn't mean you have to spend the next 10, 20, 30, or 40 years doing the same thing. Let me ask you this. If you hadn't already gotten that degree or you hadn't spent this many years in the field that you're working in, would you still choose to work in the field that you're in? Now, maybe you would, that's great, but if the answer is no, then you should probably start looking into other opportunities. It's not going to be easy trying to find a new job, it's not going to be easy trying to change careers, it's not going to be easy trying to change industries, but the alternative is much, much worse. If you hate your job, you're going to take that home, you're going to take it out on your family and your loved ones. Or if you don't do that, you're going to start overcompensating in other areas. When you hate your job, you end up spending more money on stuff that you think will make you happy to try and fulfill the hours of the day that you don't find happiness. So even if you're making more money in a job that you don't like, you're probably going to lose money at the end of the day because you're overcompensating by spending more of it. Now, I'm not trying to get you to leave your job. For a lot of people listening, that's not even relevant to them. They really like their careers. What I'm trying to get you to understand and use as an example is that the sunk cost effect, the sunk cost bias, the sunk cost fallacy, whatever you want to call it, it has a major effect on a lot of different areas of your life. People keep their kids in the same school system or the same college or the same whatever because they've already spent so much time in that school system that they don't want to alter or change the direction that they've made. People get degrees that they don't want and careers that they don't want because they've already spent 2 years chasing that degree. They may as well finish it now. People buy houses that they don't want because they spent 6 months saving for a house and then they got through the loan process only to realize, you know what, they really don't want this house, but they go through with it anyways because, well, they've already put this much time and effort into it, might as well finish. Heck, people get married to people that they don't want to because of sunk cost bias. Like it's bad, it's a real thing. I've seen people keep pools that just suck money every single month from electricity and water bills and repair bills, even though they don't even use the thing anymore, but they keep it because of sunk cost bias. They've already invested this much into the pool, there's no way they're gonna take the loss on just filling it full of concrete. That's sunk cost bias having its effect again. But how do you deal with it? How do you combat this? How do you get rid of this bias that is inherently human. You ask yourself one simple question, whether it's time or money. For money, here's how it sounds. If I had not invested money into this thing, or if I had the money that was equal to the value of this thing, would I purchase it today? Whether it's a car or a cell phone or a video game system or a trip or whatever it is, if you had the value in cash in your hands and you were standing in a store, would you hand that money over and take the thing? If the answer is no, then get rid of it. For time, it is the exact same thing. If you hadn't spent any time previously leading up to this moment working on this thing or going in this direction, and you were sitting at a blank slate and you had the option to put a bunch of time towards this thing or towards this effort or in this direction, would you do it? Would you choose to go down that path? If the answer is no, then don't go down it anymore. Turn around and go find a different way. The reason I got my Girl Scout in this video is because I want to show you and I want to remind you of how a dog views life. Now, obviously, I don't want us to act like dogs in all respects of life. That probably cause some issues, but I think in this scenario, acting like a dog can be helpful. At any given moment in time, Scout here is only focused on what she wants to do in that moment, objectively. She doesn't care about what she's done in the past. She wants to think about, what do I want right now? And that's what she's gonna go for. Whether it's taking a nap or chasing a Frisbee or eating some dog food or whatever it is, she's focused on, what do I want in this moment right now? And then how can I make that happen? Obviously, being human means we have the ability to learn from our past, and we should always learn from our past. I'm not saying never forget the past and only live in the moment. But what I'm saying is that if you let your past keep you from doing certain things or moving in a direction that you really want to go, but you keep going another way just because of what you did in the past, that's a dumb way to live, and it's only going to keep you poor and unhappy. So whether it's your career or something that you bought or filling a pool full of concrete, whatever it is, whatever sunk cost that you've already spent time and effort doing that is keeping you from going in the direction that you really want or making the decisions that you need to do, I'm asking you now to please stop. So that's it, guys. Now, if you like this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button for more videos like it, and let me know in the comments below what's something that you've spent money and time on even though you didn't really want to, but you did because you already had. Don't forget that I can teach you how to avoid sunk cost bias and get your mindset right around money, but I can't make you do it. The choice is yours. I'll see y'all next time.